What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Cheeky Midweeky, where we are making strength and conditioning not boring anymore. And we do that by highlighting the practitioners that make this the best field in athletics. Before we get into today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. It helps the show grow and it costs you nothing. Inside today's episode, I talk with Coach Cory Gilday. Cory is now in tactical strength and conditioning, but has worked across other sectors in strength and conditioning. Cory has no problem telling people what he thinks and where there are problems in the field. We also talk about why strength coaches have to actually do conditioning work and how, because he did, it actually helped save his life. Here at Strength Coach Network, we pride ourselves on giving you the best quality information from strength and conditioning coaches and practitioners that still work with or have worked with athletes. And this is not theory. We are always about giving you practical information that you can apply day one, the minute you're done listening to this. And you can check us out for a $1 trial in the link down below. Click that link and find out more about us. This is the second time, but this has been a while that we've been planning this. How's everything with your heart?
I'm fine. It's one of those, the cardiologist is kind of perplexed. It goes, because I had the issue in Iraq. The cardiologist in Iraq, he denoted it as a look a clot, but I did have some typical narrowing of my RCA and other places, but like 20-30%, nothing that'd be alarming, for someone in the late 40s.
Are they saying this is like a near life death experience? Like, how extreme are they going with this?
If I is someone who had not worked out, I'd be dead.
Really?
Yeah. Because it was 99% blockage, and I had 1% what's called TMI3 flow, and I still had some flow going. In the fact that all my other arterial arteries were very healthy and good flow, and I don't have enlarged heart, but my heart is about 15 to 20% bigger than he normally sees, so I have more flow in general. So they were just saying, and typically what happens, the Iraqi doctor, educated at Oxford, goes, usually in the States this will kill you, because what happens is it was just so mild. It literally almost felt like my clavicle, like I had pain. I thought I had some indigestion or clavicles. It hurt because it hurt right here. Not the typical
If you move your camera over, everybody can see it a little bit better. You were kind of off screen. There you go.
Okay, you see me now?
Yeah.
So it literally hurt in my clavicle. That's where the pain. It's not the typical, grab the chest. My pain was right here.
Huh.
And I was like, oh, and it felt just like a little tightness. And I was like, oh, do I have indigestion? And then being on the embassy compound, having literally a health clinic across the street from where my apartment, dormitory is, to go over there, get EKG, get troponin, and go, oh, no, you're having an event. The doctor, when they flew me to Erbil, Iraq, goes, typically what happens in the States, you'll take some aspirin. You won't go to the doctor because you think you're fine, because it went away after aspirin. It completely went away. The blockage was still there. And because the aspirin probably it got a little bit more flow and relieved some of the pressure. He goes, what you would have done is then you would have felt better. You would have went to the gym, which I was planning on doing. I was about to take some pre-workout. And then I would have ended up going to the gym and having a massive coronary.
Wow.
So luckily that didn't happen. Couple things that I was being a little cavalier with. I take TRT, and previous dose was 200 per week, and my total testosterone went from 330 to over 1,000, which is higher than it needs to be. Although, of course, being the meathead that I am, I liked how I felt on that. But my hematocrit went over, was it 52? And I was like, and so the cardiologist in Iraq probably said that probably contributed to the clot happening so fast, because I did 45 minutes of cardio in the morning. So obviously the blockage was not there the morning of. So but I'm completely fine. I got a Bruce protocol.
Vacations are meant for you to be outside doing things that you love and reconnecting with your family and your friends and recharging your battery. It is not meant for you to travel and listen to some coach talk in a conference hall and eat some food that you know really isn't the best thing that you want to be eating. Take back your vacations and do so with a Strength Coach Network annual membership. When you purchase an annual membership, you're going to get access to our course, Performance Coaching 101. In the subsequent years, it'll renew and you'll get access to 102 and 103. Each year, you're going to get access to 2 NSCA CEUs and 10 CSCCa CEUs. These CEUs will allow you to be able to learn from the comfort of your office. You'll be able to earn CEUs on your time rather than having to travel. Take back your vacation and be able to do this with a Strength Coach Network annual membership. Click the link down below for more information.
I got the 45 VO2. I got past phase 4. So
the question here that most strength coaches are asking is like, how is this going to help you? Well, shoot, there's so many places to go with this, just considering like you've talked about Iraq, like anybody that doesn't know, talk about your background, how, you know, the being in Iraq now, why tactical. You've talked a lot about, you know, the Lakers position, like there's just a lot, and you've had outspoken opinions on LinkedIn and all that. So give everybody that first, but then also tie in how you're going to maybe better work with athletes that have these heart workups, because sometimes these athletes, these strength coaches have never actually had to go through that with somebody. And hearing a real coach's experience can kind of help tighten them up and understand their better protocols and things in place when this happens to an athlete.
Well, first of all, before I go into that, I wanted to think, you know, you were going to kick up, running your mileage, and how we become more strength coaches, not strength and conditioning coaches. And this has definitely helped me refocus on that. But, you know, kind of where I come from, you know, being the director of athletic performance for Triple Canopy, which is essentially I work with the high threat protective specialists, which are the guys that protect all the State Department personnel. If you watch the news and you watch an ambassador walk out of a helicopter or walk out of a motorcade, and you see the ominous people in suits that don't seem to fit those suits correctly, those are my high threat protective specialists. I tell them, you guys do not know how to wear suits correctly. You guys, it's a bunch of former operators trying to play dress up, and it's hilarious. Anyways, but you know, working this environment, and it's a unique environment because in tactical, obviously, you know, everyone knows that me and Kostas Telagadas are really close friends.
Yep.
He works with fighter pilots out in Italy. I work with, you know, other strength coaches work with Rangers. They work with SEALs and stuff like that. And guys tell me that tactical, and I'm like, so you're telling me you work with an F1 or a NASCAR, and I work with a '63 Ferrari that still has plenty of torque, plenty of power, just a lot of miles in those tires. So I think as a strength and conditioning coach, I get to work with a unique environment with athletes that have plenty of wear and tear in their body, but they have tons of capacity left. They don't know when to stop, and we still have to give them the functional capacity to do their job in a pretty austere environment. So it's, you know, we don't, very rarely do strength coaches work with athletes post 40, 45. It's, you know, that's when the personal trainer gets in and, you know, gets you to get ready to, you know, prevent the dad bod. But I'm, you know, working with those guys, and this event helps me be a better coach. Number one, I'm still walking among us. Two, but I'm able to understand, like, hey, just because they've been working out your whole life doesn't mean you're immune to this. Because obviously I've been in this field for 25 plus years, taking care of myself. I do have some issues with food in my past, going back and forth, but all in all, I'm definitely take pretty good care of myself, and I still had this issue. So we have to assume that other athletes that we work with are prone to these issues. Even younger athletes, you hear about young athletes in the prime of their life getting cardiac arrest, cardiac events. And I think you had said about a year or two ago talking about how we don't focus enough on the conditioning aspect, and then not just the capacity thing. Our job as a strength and conditioning coach is to work on bettering that athlete's life, make sure they still can walk and move after their playing days. And it also comes down to how is their cardiac health? And I keep thinking about, we don't focus enough on teaching good endothelial health and stuff within the heart or myocardium. We just, okay, how fast are they? How strong are they? How flexible they are? And we don't really focus on it. I've been guilty of it. I know I've watched many strength and conditioning sessions at the Division I professional and tactical level. Very, very poor cool down and cardiovascular attention. It's more only high intensity speed development. Will warm up. They do a good job warming up, but there's very little cool down. It's like, okay, you're done. Go walk. That might be the crux of the cardiovascular cool down. And as I dive more into heart health, I'm like, I used to kind of brush it off, and it's like, no, it's an important deal. So I think we all go back to our undergraduate, the ACSM protocols, and you go, oh, those are kind of important.
Yeah, we literally would shut the lights off and tell the guys to belly breathe and put on ambient relaxation music. And sure, I'd have to tell some of the kids, hey, pipe down, stop being crazy. But you're right. Even as a whole, like that was mainly only high stress times. Like we didn't do a good enough job, and probably on us for being so afraid of trying to fit it in when we already don't have a lot of time in season. Right. You might have 45 minutes, regardless if it's whatever sport you're with. So to think that you're going to spend 2 minutes to do that, but you're right, we need to.
It's even if you can teach those athletes those skills to do in the dorm room or at home,
or even to just actually teach them how to like breathe during, like I just did it with an athlete. The reason that we got a little late, the college athlete that I was working with was helping her get ready for the beep test, and I was teaching her like, hey, as we're going through this right now, you gotta like they do a good job teaching it. Like my my MMA coach, striking coach, he did a really good job of like we would teach and we would work on breathing in between rounds because you only had the minute and you had to get your heart rate lowered. TeamBuildr has been my trusted source for online software programs for my athletes since 2019. Since then, they've continued to grow. They have this new practice integration where practice planning can integrate with the sport coach. You have your sports science, your AMS, the questionnaires. They've continued to evolve and keep giving you the things that you need. It has made my life easier as a strength coach. I want the same for you. You do not need to keep printing on lift cards. Please, printing on lift cards in Excel, you don't need to do that. If you need help being able to purchase it, they have a pre-written grant on their website. They're also part owners in the Plyomat with Coach Rich Burnett. So if you need to get a good device that can accurately and validly and quickly get your jump height and ground contact time, so now you can get RSI, Plyomat's a great choice. We utilize that at Goldfinch. Check TeamBuildr. Check them out in the link down below. Please stop printing on lift cards. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your athlete's life easier. It's easier to program on the back end. Check out TeamBuildr in the link down below. Right, but like we've even talked about it in the CrossFit world where like, and that's a whole separate angle where we can go where that's kind of that was bastardized and kind of ruined. And I grew up in that world where we were taught you're going to get hurt if you do that stuff. But in that world, they kind of talk about trying to be able to bring your heart rate down too.
Right. I grew up, the bringing the heart rate, that's a really important skill. I was taught that. I grew up in Sun Valley, Idaho. So I grew up they used to require all kids on ski team. You had to be on the combined team. So you were on Nordic and you were on Alpine. And so they would even teach the younger athletes, the Nordic kids, how to lower their heart rate because they're getting ready for biathlon. So I've learned that skill a long time ago, and it's important to know. Like I can mess with my doctor and I can run in front of him, lower my heart rate, 30, 40 beats. So it's not.
You sound a lot like Ed Cosner right now. Like when he talked on his episode about how like taking the heart more serious and how like we need to do that and like not only for our athletes but just for ourselves and our families to be able to stay around.
Well, and I'm built more for strength and hypertrophy and anaerobic, and I'm more fast twitch. I am not not built for it. Ironically, my in exercise physiology undergrad, we were doing the max heart rates, and I got a calculated max heart rate when I was 20 years old of 216.
Huh.
So like I was literally kicking at 216, which is, so I have high heart rate capacity, but I'm built like a T-Rex, so I don't. I don't care how great my heart capacity is when I have limbs that don't want to take me very far.
Yeah.
Um, so, but we have to now that I focus more on cardio, like I'm doing cardio, I'm doing at least 200 to 220 minutes of zone 2 a week, and I'm getting into zone 5, and I'm doing some steady state stuff. I can't run a lot because my malleolus is dissolved from my service. Um, so I can squat and run. I can jog a little bit. Usually bike and step mill, but the refocusing on it. Not that I wasn't doing cardio before, but the refocusing on doing correct cardiovascular zones. I mean, I still at 48 years old, I can bench 405 with a replaced shoulder, which I had done less than a year ago, and I can squat over 500. And but I still able to have a VO2 over 40. So, I mean, I really think if you're a strength and conditioning coach and your VO2 is below 40, you have some issues.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would gather to say that there's probably some big strength coaches that are big football guys that you go do their VO2 and it's not good. And the funny thing is they talk about longevity for and the big study came out that leg circumference size is a lot big indicator on long-term mortality, longevity. But also the other factor is VO2. So if you have good VO2 and big legs, you're going to live a long time. Well, okay, you got the big legs, but if your heart can't sustain those big legs, so and I'm not telling strength coaches, hey, I need you to start going running triathlons,
No.
but just be more focused on it.
Well, you're teeing up the exact question that I had written down, and I got a lot of traction on it, and I had a strength coach send me a text message, a actual text message of my tweet,
Mm-hmm.
where Tony Holler had posted a video of a cheetah, and then was like, "Oh, here's hoping that the trainer for the cheetah hasn't neglected its aerobic capacity," and I'm like, "Here we go again, like trying to attack aerobic capacity as if it's some bad thing, where." Low LSD, not the drug, but it
Right.
just gets this awful, awful rap where we think that aerobic capacity is not good. We think all everybody starts to think about is just like the cross country athlete. Well, I don't want my weak little cross country athlete. There are so many different ways that you can get that stimulus on or off your feet. You can do it, and you can now get the benefit of a healthy aerobic system, like you said, to pump blood, to recover from the day, the week, the month, the season. And it's not going to make you slower. It's not going to make you, you're not instantly going to be this bad person. And in the professional settings, the difference between the fastest and the people around them isn't as big. Like in the high school setting, you're right. You do have some freak fast kids and some really slow kids.
Yeah.
That's not happening in the NFL.
No.
It's not. There's no 23 and a 19. It's a 23 and a 22-8 chasing them. So this whole notion that like our aerobic fitness is bad. Somebody else was like, "Oh, what do you mean? It's not a lactic bath for offensive linemen." Tell me you've never worked with offensive linemen or never played the sport, because you go and you block somebody. Chances are you fell or something like that happened. You're getting up off the ground. You're going back to the huddle. You maybe catch your breath while you listen to the play. Then you're going back to the line and doing it again. At no point is that actual rest, but all these textbook nerds, and it just really bothers me that they think like, I'm telling you, it's a lactic bath for these linemen because I played it and I've worked with it and I've talked with them. Like, it's just insane for people that work with football players to tell me that O linemen don't live in a lactate bath. Like, unless you just actually did it and pucked them and got the actual number, which maybe that's what we have to do to prove a point. But it's insane that there are people thinking that cardio is not important.
It's like, are you actually watching the game film, or are you just watching like play and not looking at what's happening transition between the plays?
Correct.
It's like, we could go off on the science-based lifting craze right now. I want to like message all these little young kids that think they have the secret sauce, but like, you guys are being very myopic in the science. You're looking at one piece of science and you're exploiting it, going, "Oh, this is that." I'm like, no. Yes. Are they super power and anaerobic within that phase of their movement? Yes. But then you start combining it over and over again. Like you said, falling down, getting up, picking up your teammate,
Hawken Dynamics is my preferred choice for force plates and for handheld dynamometers. Made in the USA up in Maine, I have been using them since 2020 when I was at Towson University. Still use them at Goldfinch today, and I've brought the plates to the high school that I've trained at. We will use the plates and transport them when we train athletes at the many different high schools that we currently work at. As I said, they are a handheld dynamometer as well with the True Strength. You can assess athlete internal, external rotation, hip, AB, adduction, calf strength, hip, whatever you want to assess, you can do with the True Strength. It also has the ability to pair with the difference striking machine. So now you can see single strike, multiple strike. Check out Hawken Dynamics down in the link down below. Correct.
Carrying your 300-pound body in pads back to the huddle, where you're jogging back to the huddle.
Correct.
And then you're jogging back to the line.
Correct.
So,
and maybe it's a pass play, but then you have to do that for multiple plays, series in a game, a 3-hour game. It's just
running off the field.
Yep.
You know, one of my guys, and I think you know this. I love him to death, but I think he made a comment about long short duration, and I think they oversimplified it. Mike Boyle commented multiple times about how we do not want to do too much low duration, steady state stuff, and a long time ago. And he has since refined that comments because I think people misconstrued it. But I do think that people took that comment and goes, "Oh, we don't want to." You know, he made a comment, "You shouldn't. If you guys are getting ready for basketball, running cross country is not a good choice." You're right, but that's not zone 2 cardio. That's
correct.
That's zone 3, 4 cardio, 5 all the time. You're going fairly intensely, but you're not going very fast.
And it's also not specific. It's the SAID principle. Our entire field is based off of the SAID principle.
Yeah. I'm saying I want zone 2. I know zone 2, and guys, everyone who doesn't, if you guys have forgotten what zone 2 feels like, it's boring as shit. Sorry
and it's so mentally tough. No, like it is. It's boring. It is freaking boring as heck.
Get a friend, get a buddy, like my opinion, the recumbent and the stationary bike are two of the best zones for that, because like step mill, your heart rate's going to start climbing a little bit unless you're really, really fit. Hop on a recumbent, hop on a stationary bike, and put a movie on and just zone out, and don't go too hard, don't go crazy, get all motivational. Just go into zone 2. And you think, what is this accomplishing? Because your heart rate, if you're in your 40s, your heart rate's between 105 to 115 beats a minute. And it's really not going, and 115 may be too high. It's nothing crazy. And you're thinking, what does this do? If you do it for a few weeks, if you do 200 minutes for a few weeks, tell me how you feel afterwards. Your blood pressure will be lower. You'll recover more between your lifts, so.
I couldn't agree with you more, because like you said, it's such a bad comparison to try to again say that like that's not what people are advocating for with your aerobic fitness, the zone 2 thing that's come with the craze. And Boyle back in 19 was the one, and I remember it because that was when he spoke at the CSCCa. No, it was longer ago than that. I think it was a lot longer ago. It was a lot longer. It was when I was still at Iowa that he did it, and I wound up buying some of his stuff, and he talked about it in it where he's like, hey, if I need to get this, steady state stuff, heart rate around 135, he's like, because he's always been a big fan of having heart rate monitors on the athletes and even letting them sit down to lower their heart rate, just like in hockey. But he's like, listen, we actually get 20 minutes of it without doing like going on a jog, because he goes, we get it when we go through our stations of, jumping on boxes and walking to throw the med ball, and then walking from throwing the med ball to doing our sprints. Like the heart rate stays in that zone because we never, we're only running 10-yard dashes because that's the only length of the facility he has.
Right.
So he's like, we actually get it. So, he was actually kind of advocating for it from those DVDs and that stuff. But again, it just, these extremists coming in with like, oh, all you have to do is max velo. And it's like, no, that is just not the case, because as Moses Cabrera has said on the podcast, so we're going to do a deeper dive on it, but he's like, the difference between the best and everybody else is they can't repeat that maximal speed.
Right.
And that's from somebody that's won it at the highest level.
Like, I mean, it's simply that recovery, I always advocated you don't have to play the sport that you strength coach in to
No.
be good at it, but I 100% believe you're a better strength and conditioning coach if you've trained hard. That mean whether you played a sport or you train for powerlifting or you train for understanding how your mental aspect of being fully recovered helps you when tactile decisions, neuromuscular coordination, efficiency. If you're recovered, you're going to make a better play. Like the research may show, well, he's recovered, he can still max sprint. Yeah, but can he max sprint, look for the ball, catch the ball, make a move? This is because recovery is not just cardiovascular. The cardiovascular system also helps power the neurology, so your brain can actually function too.
Yeah, that's the whole fight or flight. If you're just not free, if you're calm versus freaking out because you're stressed out.
Right. Well, the brain has blood flow too, guys. Everyone forgets
True.
there's
Yeah.
you need blood flow to your brain.
Amen.
And that zone at endothelial health where you're able to do that, that's coming from that zone too. And I know it's so hard, like you saw me talk about LinkedIn and people talking about why don't you do cool exercises because you work in a private facility now, which you probably see it now. You guys should talk, Coach. Why don't we do the cool stuff? When I used to own a private facility, you still cool stuff that the college coach couldn't do. But with COLA hours, there's only so many hours minutes you can slam it in. And I know that zone 2 is so hard to figure out. Like, do I want to spend 20 minutes of a week on zone 2 with these guys, or how do I find it to get it in with these guys? Tell you guys, hey, as a team, can you guys go do a team walk? Go for a team walk. Just go for a 20-minute team walk. It's not required. It's not going to go against COLA. Build team bonding. So, there's other ways to get it in. I don't know if it's now. If you find that that's the gap that you need as a strength and conditioning professional, then maybe that's what you do. You may piss off your coach when they see you just freaking, walking, but
True.
But your
Which
job
just leads into the even further just insanity that is.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate too, and you want a more well-conditioned team that recovers. They always, we talked about we're at the coaches conference in January. We're talking about giving coaches a gift of what they want in a box, structured in a box of a gift of what they need in a box of what they want.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how do we package this so that we can get exactly what they need, thinking that's what they want. So
yeah, and that's where, as a strength coach, you have to understand that savviness of building that relationship. And so, like, at first, it might mean doing the things that you, as long as it's not negligent, and Jocko's talked about this before, I'm just stealing his principles, like doing some things that maybe aren't best, but you can build that leadership capital so that eventually when you want to start to make some changes, you can start to make some changes. And then that's where you need to know your science, and you need to know your art of how to artfully make the science work, so that way you can explain it to the coach that, hey, we're doing this because of this. And I just think we need to understand our energy system production better and this is stuff that Jay DeMeo has been talking about for a while though. Like Jay has been on this topic of, he called it Q work, and making sure that we're actually hitting both ends of the spectrum, but then also not negating the lactate work and that threshold middle of the zone work. Like that, we threw baby out with the bathwater a little bit too much too with the Charlie Francis charts, where it's like, oh, we never do anything between 75 and 95. And Amit Vora, who I work with at Towson, he's like, don't really know if that's good, considering the fact that that's what happens a lot of time in basketball too. Like, I can't just completely neglect it before the season when they're going to go get slammed with 2 hours of it at practice.
Right. And, again, Charlie Francis is a brilliant track coach, performance guy. I don't want to slam Charlie, but a lot of his athletes do tend to have a chemical advantage.
Powerlift has been my choice for strength and conditioning equipment ever since I got into the field. Right now, I still have their racks, I have their barbells, I have their bumpers, specialty bars, and we have the IMTP device at Goldfinch, and it's been great for us because it's allowed us to free up the rack where we used to have to do the IMTPs. Now we use that device, roll it around. We've created more space. You have to check them out. Doesn't matter if in your college, high school, pro, tactical, or private, they have the ability to make whatever customizations and whatever adjustments you need. I was a part of the weight room that was the 32 brand new rack facility at Iowa football. You see what they did for TCU football. Doesn't matter how big, how small, whatever your customizations are, Powerlift is number one in the exercise equipment space for a reason. Check them out in the link down below.
Yeah. And so that does change how your programming is going to change, is going to affect it. I mean, he's fantastic, but when they can overcome a lot of things,
and it's also just like it's only track and field. And I'm not saying that their sport's not important, but when it's a stopwatch and you're not preparing them for practices and games as long, and the variableness of the fact that at that sport, it truly is phosphocreatine when you do that short of a sprint, and maybe sure you tap into the very end of it for, when they're finishing up their 200-meter sprint, but that truly is maximal effort, 10-minute rest if you need to be. That's not how it is in team sports.
And I'm having a hard time trying to figure out if Charlie ever trained any good 400-meter runners. I knew 200 and 100. He had plenty of 200 and 100s, but I'm trying to think, because starting going to 400, 800, and beyond, there's definitely a transition in energy system usage. And
you hit that 250, 300-meter mark, and you're like, okay, there it is. Like,
anyone who's ever ran high school track and hit that 300-meter mark, and it's like someone hits you with a freaking sledgehammer.
And you got another 100 to go.
It's that transition of like, I don't care how strong and fit, fast you are. If you can't, you need to be fit to run that final 100 meters of the 400.
Correct.
And it's completely different. So, like you said, I think Tony Holler's, feed the cats model is good because it will give you time to do some zone 2, because you don't have to spend all the time on ridiculous amount of volume of sprint work. Hey, sprint those guys, and then you can tell the guys, hey, on Sunday or on a weekend, can you get some zone 2 and just, go a bike ride, do this, get some conditioning. I understand he doesn't want to give low quality sprint work, but it's the same thing with, I always cringe when I hear the high intensity training model. All you got to do is these minimal sets to get great hypertrophy. And I'm like, we have an obesity epidemic, and even with our student athletes, our high school and collegiate athletes, they are not in good physical shape. So to go, hey, we're going to give minimal dose necessary when sprinting, they do need some just overall volume to the program to get
maximal recoverable volume in the off season. Minimal, sure, you can MED it in season because you got all the other demands, but you still have to bake the cake, and you still have to do really hard things. Like the physiological adaptation to, like you said, your heart got bigger from over to, like, that's why they call it an athlete's heart, or the capillarization, or the fact that we're talking about muscle. Like now we're diving back into our essentials textbook of like myofibril, density, right? We know that it's not so much adding with the hyperplasia. Like if we're talking about structural changes to the body and to your tendon and laying down collagen matrix, it takes time, and you need to place it under stress. Again, said principle, things that we know.
Right. And again, it's these new people who haven't read the full textbook. They read a study, they read something and go, well, I hear that this is the way to do it. Or you have new trained coaches and like, well, shouldn't we do it like this? I'm like, no.
But and Tony's got juice though, because it's the sprint stuff like that. And I'm not saying sprinting isn't important. Like you still need to. And like, I love what Tony Villani talks about, where speed is like a gun. You want to show people that you have it. You want to train it and know how to use it. And like, yes, we need to do it, but it's a yes and, because we need to understand all of the energy systems and use all of the energy systems, because otherwise, like the best cakes, I said it before, the best cakes have the best icing. Right? They're cooked properly and they have a good icing. And especially and Keir talked about this before. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been regurgitated from Strength Coach Network already. Keir used to talk about this all the time. Yes, on the tribe test, it was improve max output, improve recoverability. So the two ends of Charlie Francis's thing. He's like, but as you get closer to camp and you're playing rugby or you're playing football, if you have not exposed your athletes to that anaerobic work and that lactate suck and that icing on the cake, the 2 to 3 weeks before camp, He said the people from the Argentina national team were like, when you're getting into a match against the All Blacks, you need to know that you've been into some suck and some shuttle work and some changes of direction to psychologically put it in the bank.
Right. I mean, you have to suffer. You have to, quote the military, embrace the suck. You have to understand how to overcome those things. Not all conditioning is physiological. Sometimes it's psychological. How are you able to overcome? How are you able to find that other gear? How are you able to understand what your body's capable of doing? That's part of our job. And people, some sports science guys get a little too caught in the weeds on, well, that's not the right system. Again, you're brain myopic with patterns. They're not looking at things as a whole picture. They're breaking things down of like, well, this event. Well, you do realize it's a whole 2-hour game where it's the whole time. You can't just train. You can't just put each block in and hope they work together. They're not just interchangeable. So
correct, and like we said, especially with different sport like basketball, there's times where there's no timeouts. You're going for 4 minutes straight. There's times where there could be a lot of balls going in and out, and there's a lot of stoppages. Soccer, you look interpositionally at the sport of soccer. There might be more or less walking depending on lacrosse, field hockey, football. Like it's all for it just to be completely. And I understand if we need to be black and white in kindergarten world of just simplifying it, sure, you're going to call it one thing, but when you want to get in the weeds, you know that it's not just that, and you can't we want to live in this kindergarten black and white world, and it's really not.
Well, and it's more advanced than if it was black and white, then like I said in LinkedIn, then we shouldn't get paid what we deserve. But it's complex, and you need to pay us appropriately. Because guess what, coach, whatever the basketball, you can't do it. You had to have someone do it, and now so we want us to do it correctly.
Good point.
You mentioned soccer. Soccer is one of my favorite because they, when they initially put GPS units on soccer, they go, collegiate and pro soccer run 6 to 7 miles a match. So what did these brilliant high-level soccer coaches go? Well, they need to run distance then. No, they don't need to run distance.
They need a fartlek for 7 miles, and they need to take a 25-minute break in the middle of it. They need to fartlek a 5K, take a break, and fartlek a 5K.
Right. That's perfect. I wrote for my senior year undergrad. I wrote a research project on how do you appropriately train a starting pitcher, and essentially for Major League Baseball, I just had them do 30 med ball.
Vitruve has been my choice for VBT for years now, not only because of the encoder and how well it works with the app, and you can film movements with the camera and get live variable feedback in real time if you so choose to on the app, but the fact of the amount of content they have been pushing out to help coaches better understand VBT. It's not only just to move the bar faster. You can be working on what's the appropriate load for high rep sets based off velocity loss. You can be looking at velocity loss threshold between sets, in between reps. VBT is not just moving the bar fast. It's moving the bar fast with heavy weights. It's not just moving lightweight fast. And Vitruve has been at the forefront educating coaches on VBT and how to do it the right way. Check them out in the link down below.
Slam into toss with a 5-yard sprint, like 30 of those. Then they go hop on a recumbent bike for 5-10 minutes and do that 9 times.
It's brilliant.
There's your conditioning right there. You're literally training the system to end right side, left side, depending on your throws. And I would go with what's his name? One of the baseball. His name is escaping me right now, and I know I've talked to him online. But he talked about you want to unbalance training as you get closer to the season, but during the off season for baseball players, you're going to retrain. You're going to train opposite the patterns because baseball is such a lopsided movement pattern.
But you have to make everybody symmetrical, Cory. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
your football quarterback and your baseball pitcher, they have to be symmetrical.
Right. Well, his job, he would always say during the off season, the first 5-6 weeks is to try to make them symmetrical.
Yes.
To rebalance them, and then they go back to asymmetrical training.
Because the asymmetrical training is what's helping Clayton Kershaw or whoever the current best baseball
having Ohtani be able to turn on that ball, having Freddie Freeman those patterns, you watch them move, that is not a normal pattern. That is not
No,
symmetrical. Even watch
no,
switch hitters; they don't swing the same way on each side.
no. And I'll never forget Marshall Yonda said this about, and this is kind of, generalist versus specialist. He's like, listen, to get into the NFL, you got to be able to do a lot. Like as a, if you're coming in kind of late at the end of the, like, to make a roster, it's better to be able to do a lot. You could play center or guard. You could play tackle or guard. He's like, to get paid, you got to be the best at what you do.
Right. You mean it's good. We always say we want to have the best total athlete, and that's our job at the high school level, and I think even at the the freshman sophomore level for college, we're trying to train the best athlete. By the time they're juniors and seniors, we want the best defensive back, we want the best point guard, we want the best center fielder. We don't just want the best we need to make them refine those skills. But I always tell strength and conditioning coaches, be aware of where you are in that athlete's development. I don't need the best 11-year-old center fielder.
That's but the reason why Court, I laugh because 11A is late to some of these parents nowadays of like, and they'll be like, oh, my son isn't elite. My son actually is elite at 11 as a center fielder. Corey, what are you talking about?
Well, I'll tell you this. So I was just talking to my beautiful wife yesterday. We're talking about development, and those who know, I played college and minor league baseball. I was awful at 11. Like, I couldn't hit a baseball. When I hit 12, all of a sudden things clicked, and all of a sudden I could hit balls out of the yard. But it is not like, to say to have that aspect of specialization. They've even shown people who specialize at a younger age are out of the sport already.
For every Venus, Serena, or Tiger Woods, there are millions of kids that hate sport.
Right. They hate it. And I think something like tennis, where your sport, you're definitely looking for a younger maturity point. Obviously, that it's that late teens, early 20s is where those guys are excelling at. Major League Baseball players are not excelling at 21 years old. They're excelling at 28 and 31, 32.
Shit, look at Schwarber right now.
Yeah, and pitchers will throw if you take care of yourself. You'll throw forever. So, football's obviously a little different with the impact and stuff like that. They're pretty much by 32, 33, most of them are done. So, and that has to do more with impact and wear and tear than I think a lot of those guys. Like, you look at Andre Whitworth and Aaron Donald. Those guys are still in phenomenal shape. It's just they still could play. They just hurt.
Yeah, they hurt and they knew they want, like, and I think I can't prove it, but I think part of why Tom Brady was as successful as A, it was quarterback and he didn't take as much pounding. B, he took care of his body with his nutrition, but B, one, didn't hit a lot. Two, took care of his body with eating. Two, B, he didn't drink. And I think that gets kind of under the radar how much, like, especially if you play a game and you just go get hammered with your friends and then you don't sleep, like, that is definitely going to take kind of some years off in terms of if you're able to kind of just say no to it. And if you can actually kick off the recovery process. I can't prove it, but I think,
well, I've seen studies where this generation, I'll give Generation Z or Y, whatever it is now, we give them a lot of crap for some other softness, but they're drinking less.
Gen Z drinks less, and they're way more sober curious, and they've gotten to the point of like having like the nootropic whiskey or whatever.
Yeah, and that's encouraging me. I've seen some athletes that I played Blaskies in high school and low college, that there's no reason why they shouldn't have had a Ferrari of the day in their driveway by time, but they never made it past that level because they couldn't get out of their own way. And also developmentally, it makes bad. You end up not your training intensity goes down. Your ambitions go. Everything is dulled. So it's like, and again, it's a poison. This is gonna sound so
stupid to people right now, but we're recording Friday, August 8th. Dasher has completely changed the game for how I'm able to time my athletes, whether I'm doing ACell, max velo, or curvilinear running. Had the blues, had the blacks at Goldfinch. Now that I have the silvers, this has saved me so much time in setup, breakdown if I'm going from Ankeny to Huxley, or from Ankeny to the Nevada location, or Nevada to Huxley, like wherever I got to go time athletes, it has made my ability to go from one place to another so much easier with the silvers. Strength coaches that have to go from one field to the other, or from the field to the court, this will help you save time. Now, in the spirit of saving time, you also have the ability to have an API interaction with TeamBuildr, so now you can see all the data on the back end. Seeing data on the back end, Dasher has a free app, a player profile app, that will allow athletes to see their data. Over 6,000 coaches and athletes have done so. And if you want more than just the timing gates, if you check them out in the link down below, they have solutions to help you out with vertical jump, broad jump, RSI, all that. Check them out in the link down below. Last time I drank was Saturday before Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. And bro, I had a bunch of whiskey. Like, I'm at my in-laws' house. Like, we're sleeping over. Like, my in-laws, like, he likes to drink. I'm like, I'm gonna have some whiskey with you. Like, I don't feel different. Like, legitimately, I don't feel different from whiskey 1 to whiskey 5. Like, fully normal. And I'm like, the only thing I'm worried about is having a hangover the next day, and like making sure that I'm hydrating enough and eating food so I'm not hungover the next day, because I had Murph to do on Monday. I was like, this is stupid. So like, I've stopped. So I haven't had drinking since then. I literally feel like time has slowed down. Like, days go by slower. I have more time during the day. I can recover. I can train better. And it's like, I can drink if I so choose to, but I literally, it was like, what's the point?
Like, well, I didn't drink before this event, and really never gonna probably do it much ever again. But when I would drink occasionally in college or afterwards, that literally was the thought. Like, if I did drink, it'd be like on a Saturday, because Sunday was always my recovery day, my rest day. Because nothing bummed me out more than missing a training day. Like, I didn't want to be hungover, and people in the Marine Corps they go out and I'd be around, and they'd be drunk, and they'd go run 5 miles. Now, I don't know how they did that, because I wasn't built like that. But
like you said, T-Rex built.
Well, I was just like, I'm fighting for my life on every run. And they're just like, they go smoke a cigarette, and they're still drunk, and they go run like an 18:30 3-mile, and they're like, how did you just do that? I'm coming at 19:45, going like puking.
You're like, I slept for 10 hours, and I had the best meal I could, and I just
yeah. I had some Zen, and I'm gonna smoke a cigarette, and I had a couple monsters, and I'm still drunk.
Yeah. Man.
People don't understand that. See, the tactical athlete, that's how they're. It's not physiological. It's just mentally the will to. Our warfighters are amazing. Our warfighters, what separates them, and I've been around, being international, you be around other forces, and it's not that they're not good. It's just mentally they don't have what our guys have.
Let's dive into that. Let's dive into like these last. I have a meeting, unfortunately, in 12 minutes. So let's wrap up with, you've seen a lot, you've been a lot, but you're in tactical, and some people have given me crap about like, oh, why you keep talking about, like, I'm talking about tactical because I also get people telling me about college jobs that pay $40,000 a year, and you need 3 years experience in a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. And it's like, listen, I know that the starting pay is a little bit higher if we're talking pay. Personal life, you can actually have a personal life. Career progression, you're going to move up the chain within it. And sense of greater purpose, you're serving those that are the war fighters, keeping us safe. So like, let's talk tactical and everything that you've seen.
So, tactical can be a great alternative for those, you probably, and anyone who follows me on LinkedIn knows that my picture should be me stirring a pot, because I will actually, when people, an AD will post a low paying job like the Sol Ross AD, I literally emailed her and said, you're pathetic, because she posted in a conference where I used to coach a $36,000 a year head coaching job. Bro,
that's $3,000 a year before taxes.
It's $1,700. You do taxes and everything. $1,700 a month take home.
It's insane. You could go work in McDonald's.
Well, that's what I said. It's like they can go work at anywhere else, and you want a master's degree.
Correct.
You want to map. So in the same, and tactical started off phenomenally. I was one of the very first POTFF strength and conditioning coaches. If you know what POTFF is, Google it. POTFF is the special operations preservation of force family program. It is one of the initial tactical contracts. And as a part-time strength coach, part-time, working 15, 20 hours a week at a special operations unit here in Portland, I was making 60 plus as part-time. Now that we've gotten these contractors, subcontractors involved, and it seems like it's a race to the bottom, because the position that's in Portland that I used to do part-time, now for full-time pays $58,000.
Oh,
yeah. But there's other places that are really good. There's other places I saw, for example, in Portland, in the same base, not POTFF, but for the Human Weapon System, which I just wrote a book for.
Shout out to that. Link down below. Link down below to get that book if you want it.
Okay. They're paying $90,000 for the same position.
Wow.
So that's more appropriate. And you've got H2F programming, which, they started off really well with the initial contracts, and then they started doing this race to the bottom. I've seen salaries get lower, and my problem with it is if I view tactical on H2F, either you're going to take that job and you're going to try to leverage it into something else, but there is no career progression with it. You're not able to you can go from strength coach at the brigade level to maybe a lead, and then you're done. And lead, you're capped at 75,000. Positions like mine don't exist. It's the only position in the world like mine.
Why not, though? That sounds like such a dope job. Like, wouldn't there be more of those? Because there's all sorts of those special operators all over protecting embassies and stuff.
Well, so triple canopy, the reason why my job even exists is because guys were hurting themselves in the gym and getting ready for preparation, and it was more of an insurance thing. They view me, they see my boss, shout out to Rock, one of the vice presidents of the task order, realized they're paying $11 million a year in Defense Base Act insurance policy and premium. So I came in, and they realized if we can reduce just a couple issues, each claim to them is about $100,000, $150,000. So if someone doesn't get hurt, it saves them $150,000. So when my first year came in last year.
You do that 10 times, you just saved them 1.5
Well, last
million.
year I came in and reduced costs by 37%. And I'm already now I'm another 37% over last year too.
God.
So I saved year one I saved $2.9 million. Right now we're an additional 1.9 million. So those of you know how much I make, they know I make a lot of money, but I've saved 10 times what I make. And yeah, my job is easy, but you have people understanding, like, when you're paying insurance on people.
But the same thing happens in college and pro sports.
Yeah, they don't.
The exact same thing.
The
Literal.
problem, yeah, they don't view it as like that. They don't go, oh, all the cost. I'm like, I can keep people healthy and not get hurt and performing high and doing their job where, for example, a low-level high-threat protective stress, which is called PSS, will make $435 a day. That's what they get. That's what they make. The triple canopy can bill the State Department $2,700 for that person for that day.
Wow.
So if that person doesn't work, that's $2,700 that company can't bill the State Department. So they're realizing it's a financial thing. It's like, hey, the guys are happier, they're healthier, they're not getting hurt.
Oh, and by the way,
yeah,
there's an extra $3 million in your bank account.
Right. And so, like, I have an unlimited budget. Like, so the first year, one of the coolest things, this program didn't exist before. Like, literally, it was like my job was go do this. Like, there was no syllabus, there was no work description. There was a description of what they wanted. Our medical director wrote it. Zach Nielsen, you probably know Zach.
Oh yeah.
Zach and I are very close as well. You'll find most of the high level tactical coaches are best friends with each other.
You, Costa, Zach, Chris Myers, who was like either the chief editor for that book,
Yeah.
and then within your tactical world too, Brandon Holder, Connor Freeland. But like, I'm biased because Costa connected me with you and all these other people.
Yeah. But anyways, we talked to Zach about this, but I had to write when we got the job description, I almost didn't apply because our medical director asked for 10 years of pro college or tactical experience, master's degree, CSCS. They wanted FMS 1, 2, and the SFMA, which I do not have, and personal special operations experience.
Wow.
And I was like, so I don't have per se special operations experience. I do have the military experience, but it's not special operations. And I go, well, is this oh, it's totally fine. I just want to get someone close. And I told him, I was like, I told my boss, in order to fit those criteria, I can probably name 4 or 5 people in the world that can hit all those things. And then you put the fact that they want to go to Iraq for 90 to 105 days on at a time.
If they would have just got rid of the FMS one, like, come on. Like,
and so our medical director thought, oh, it's a good thing. I'm like, no, I mean, I have the FMS kit because he wanted me to get it, but it's like, what I use the FMS for is I use some of the guys to show them, hey, you're tight, you need to fix some stuff.
Correct, but I don't just steal some of those movements, because some of the movements in the FMS are in the movement evaluation that I've given away on Strength Coach Network.
Right. The funny thing is I'm not a big NASM fan, but the overhead squat assessment checks a lot of boxes.
Sure, it really does. Like, cool, quick and dirty. Like, hey, I can see some things, and then I can go for, like, it gives you a quick. I mean, shoot, when we were at Iowa football, we added we added that in with height and weight when we had prospect camp back in the day.
It's
easy.
And I use the same dynamic warm up. The first 6 movements is the same dynamic warm up, regardless of what the workout is. It's always the same warm up, because in a group or individual environment, I can use that as an assessment tool. What's going on live. So, but when go back to the program, I had to write the handbook. I wrote a 55 page handbook, like protocols of this is the intake, this is the systems we have.
Good for you.
They let me buy force plates. I have force frame. I have cold plunge. I have an InBody 970, a $30,000 body fat machine. I have an infrared. I have an infrared red light system. I have 10 nice ice compression systems. I have body tempering. I have scraping tools. They give out free Nike shoes. The guys that are compliant, they give out free bags. If the guys are compliant, they can win a business class ticket home. If we use TeamBuildr. They paid for 3 years of Arc Lumen. If you know, that's not a cheap system.
No.
So they all use Arc Lumen to track. I can see on the daily how my task order is looking. I can look at injuries if they're sore, and I can track those things before they become a actual acute injury. Like, hey, someone's complaining about a knee. I can go, hey, let's do some stretches for your knee. Not quote unquote athletic training, even though I used to be an ATC. Those who know that. Yep. I don't have an active license, but it's not quote unquote sports medicine, so to speak. But it's still within our privy. I think some athletic trainers would tell strength coaches they can't do certain things, and that's absolutely false. I think strength and conditioning coaches are allowed to do ISTM scraping as long as it's for increasing flexibility, not treating an injury. You can do body tempering. You can use the ice systems for soreness. You can use the hot cold therapy things for soreness and increased performance. They just bought, so there's things I think that we can do that I think in the long run, and I'm not going to go on my athletic training rant. You know me, I have in my system. But we can do those things to take pressure off the athletic trainer to do what they're really good at. Like, hey, you don't need to be doing the recovery piece. You don't need to be doing my knee is sore. You need to be doing my knee doesn't work. I have a blown out knee. And then I don't have to deal with your athletic training, my ATC partner complain about how they don't have a life and they're so burnt out because they're trying to take on every little thing. And then we're sitting there going, hey, we can handle those things on the sideline in the weight room. You don't need to be there. So
I I hate to end this right now, but I have a call
no worries.
at 12:30. So I appreciate you, man. We will be fine.
Sounds good.
Thanks for watching that video. If you enjoyed it, click right here for videos just like that, and make sure you click here to subscribe to our channel. Have a great rest of your day.